Hello, everybody.
Hello, everybody.
Hi, everyone.
Welcome to Honesty Hour. It's episode 11 today.
Indeed.
I wasn't sure what episode we were on because it's been so long since we sat down to record one of these.
But it also seems like there have been so many.
True, no? But 11 is a lot because
No,
relative.
it's definitely not a little, but I thought we were closer to 19. Maybe not that specific number, but you know.
I'm aiming for Joe Rogan territory.
Yo.
2,134, you know?
Oh, that's going to take some doing.
Consistency is key.
This is true.
Now, speaking of consistency, we haven't done this for 7 months? 8 months?
Well, it won't feel like that with when this one comes out because there has been a delay
True.
in episode 10's reveal.
If anything, we were sitting on it as a Christmas present to the wider public.
Wow.
Or at least a Black Friday kind of deal situation.
Okay.
That's not true.
Yeah.
The reality is that your life is busy, my bro.
It tends to do that.
You said that in the last podcast
Yeah,
episode.
it remains true. And I can only speak from this honest position, no? It helps also because if I had to talk nonsense or tell lies, then eventually I would have doubled back on something I said. And I've said this before, but when I listen to these episodes, then I think a thought, no? Just based on the conversation. Then I somehow hear myself say it on the episode. Then I think, yeah, you know what I mean? Because I'm being true to myself. But also maybe I'm not growing as a person. But sorry to I know this is a lot of preface, no? To start actually talking about what I wanted to talk about. And what I wanted to talk about is, it's just nice to see you guys again, man. It's been a while since we had an excuse to have a conversation, because when I see Samantha's my sister, no? But she don't live with me, and we see each other in passing, and a lot of weekends we're in different places as well. So the engagement is infrequent. And then if I'm not seeing my sister, I'm probably not seeing you, right?
This is true.
So it's been a long while. And it's lekker to do one with you guys because we're still gonna feel out this process. Because I feel like there was a point where we had podcasting rhythm. You know what I'm talking about?
Maybe.
When you say we, you mean the three of us?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of. Yeah.
Where we
But
were doing episodes like every 2 weeks, and it was like flowing.
No,
man.
every 2 weeks it's a bit of an exaggeration. It could have been once a month.
Every
But
2 weeks.
it felt quite frequent.
Okay.
To the
Well,
point where, do you remember the candid rehearsal?
Yes. Which
At-
one?
The one at Belleville. The very first time I was there.
Okay.
And it's a little bit funny now, but there was sort of a half a second where it didn't feel funny, and then immediately afterward I laughed, and then I shared with you that you were talking to somebody and they asked about what's been keeping you busy and things like that, and one of the busyness activities that you were quite engaged with at the time was the podcast. And you said to them, oh, I've started a podcast. And then that's when the moment occurred. And then I started laughing because I was doing something technical in the background. And I wasn't really part of the conversation. But then I turned to you and the other person. I said, I thought we had a podcast. But now I realized you do. So,
I remember
so yes,
that moment.
and so it did feel, sorry, just going, there was a rhythm and a frequency. And it felt like there was this...
a train that had left the station.
Well, and kind of like a shared experience and drive toward... Actually, I'm not quite sure with. I think we were just, the point of it was to have a conversation.
Yeah, but I mean, if you're talking about a drive towards, the journey was the vibe, if you know what I mean.
Maybe.
It was
Maybe
the-
that's why he also seemingly pretended to be touched that he was not the only recurring guest. Or not, when you mentioned that. But yes.
I should have said we, if we're being honest. I do very little in terms of making this podcast happen. I literally just come here and talk.
Yeah, but you are also the only common thread through all of the episodes.
So it is your podcast, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, yes, but it wouldn't be possible without you. But you know this.
But also
So-
wouldn't be without you, because I think, how long did we actually have the conversation about having a conversation before it started?
You're about a year. I
But,
was like
yeah,
saying, oh, we must
know,
start a podcast.
So without that persistence.
And too many people are starting podcasts. And that's very hypocritical because I don't have anything unique to offer in terms of like, I'm not changing the world. Very few people are listening, but it's liquor, man. Now, why I say too many people are starting podcasts, too many people are demanding people's attention. And then thinking that they are contributing something valuable. I'm thinking about like those, those alpha male podcasts. It's like, if you're not waking up at 3:30 in the morning and eating pre-workout and then hitting the gym, then you're a failure. Like,
I've seen clips of this. I don't give my attention to that, but I've seen a big thing for me, not a big thing, but something that I do is often watching other people watch stuff or other people react to stuff, which seems to not understand why. I can't explain why. It's just something that I do because it saves me the trouble and the time to go and invest myself in there. So I'm more interested in the person that's watching's reaction to what's happening than what they're actually saying. But so I have seen many of these podcasts, but this conversation is very similar to one that we had in this other episode. Because by the time that we recorded that episode, WhatsApp had just featured the voice note status.
okay.
And your opinion in talking about that was that you're not really too keen on it because it kind of gives everybody a platform to air their opinion.
Yo, I'm not a nice person.
Maybe I'm using my own words here, but that was the sentiment. Yeah.
That's interesting. I didn't, and if there's any overlaps in terms of content, it's because I genuinely have no recollection of what we spoke about in that episode. I think we might have touched on pedos slightly.
Too much. Oh my word, too much.
Which is a play on words, I just realized. Sorry. Okay, let's move on.
Yes,
Quickly.
please not go there again.
One of the reasons I appreciate this not being on video, although like I think it would be quite at some point cool for our international audience if one day there was a video output. But one of the reasons I like that it's not on video is there's no pressure, man. So when I drove here, I first washed because we had a hike earlier and I was sweaty and smelling like balaya, like onions. And so I washed and then I thought like, yo, must I put on my conditioner and all of that stuff, the things that I normally do to go out, because believe it or not, I care about my public image. But when it's use, I don't care. And that's not a slight on use. It's just that there's nothing here that I feel like I need to present in terms of a front. No, that sounds like
visual
I'm being,
appearance.
Yeah.
Yes.
So at the moment I'm wearing sloffies now. My toes are out. My hair is not done. But I appreciate that about you.
I'm your sister.
Uh.
Do siblings dress up for each other?
Now that's the point I'm making. That's why it's liquid to do.
Yes, I know, but it feels a bit weird because it's like a duh almost. Like it's like
I think it
we
goes
siblings.
I think your sibling dynamic is maybe different and unique to possibly your household. I think all sibling dynamics are different. But there was a point where, growing up, I was the youngest of three, two older sisters. And because we all grew up in the same house, everybody saw everybody almost all the time, dressed or not prepared for the world, not undressed specifically. But even then, there was a time when I think I would be preparing to use the bathroom, and in order to save time, efficiency, as a young child, either I would undress or somebody would assist me, and my sister would be coming out of the bathroom to dress somewhere else. So there would be this passing moment where, as siblings, we would see each other, and I mean, it wasn't an episode. It's really just I'm doing this, you doing that, and
Yeah,
kind of
because
like a teamwork deal.
yeah, because I
Yeah.
don't feel like you're not conscious of like such things as judgment when
No.
it's your people that you grew up with. But now, did your siblings ever dress you up in terms of we're going to this place?
Oh,
You can't wear that.
I'm glad you went
You
that
need to cut
direction.
your toenails.
Okay, they never went that, but they
Okay.
yeah. So, yes, to answer your question,
Because two sisters.
and older sisters, and
Mm.
the gap between oldest and youngest is about 10 years.
Yeah.
And so there was a point where I didn't have a lot of friends
Mm.
in the area where I stayed because school was far away. And so school friends were not sort of locally based.
Yeah.
And so when my sisters went out with their friends, I would sort of,
Tag along.
yeah, something like that. And then there would be demands about, dress like this, don't do that, take that off. There was a standing rule whether we were out as family or with other people that I needed to respect the 1 meter radius around each of them. So
Yeah.
yeah, and it could have been, in hindsight, it could have just been me being an eager young boy wanting to interact, and just I was fascinated with very many things, and going out with my mom and my sisters when they went shopping and stuff. They would go into sections of stores that I would never have gone anyway. So I would have questions, or I would want to stay away from other stuff and close to familiarity. And a few times my sister made it clear. She said, "That's too close. Stand over there." And we had a very loving relationship. Don't get me
Yo,
wrong.
it's not
It was
sounding
just
like it.
this thing in hindsight, because at that point it's like, okay, it makes her comfortable. So I went with it, and it wasn't a biggie. But now looking at, considering, that whole thing, it does seem a little bit extreme, especially considering the actual relationship dynamic. I think when she started, I was going to say her first job, but that's not true. When I started my first job,
Okay.
well, as a working adult, not sort of
You
like
were-
a holiday job.
This was
or
after
thing.
your years of child labor.
Yo.
Yeah. Sorry, just give me a yes. After all of those years, when I was sort of part of the workforce,
Yeah.
my sister and I used to speak on the phone daily.
Yeah.
Yeah, and a day wouldn't be complete without her calling from work, and either I would be at work or just back from work, but it would happen later on in the day.
Samantha, imagine.
No.
And it was kind of cool because she would give me an
Yeah,
update on stuff, and I'd met people from her work. So I knew them, and so she would sort of tell me what everybody's doing because she was always part of a bigger team. But so there was that.
They're like a
Kind of-
friendship.
Yeah, yeah, we were very good friends.
Don't worry, I
Oh.
wasn't thinking that you grew up in a loveless home.
No, not at
Yeah.
all.
Because I've also been to your home before,
Yes.
and I felt love. I've also felt other things.
Yes.
Not just love. Your father's I respect him, and he's a character, man. He's a real character. He's one of those uncles that are like, those uncles that you will never forget them ever. There's some uncles you will forget. Your father's not one of them.
Yeah, I came to learn this much later. Because in my life, he was
Because your
always daddy.
Exactly.
And this is just the way he was. And there were some people who liked the reminder, so we saw them fairly frequently, and other people we saw very rarely. So they maybe prefer to forget,
Yeah.
and then got the reminder every now and again. And I don't. Yeah, I think he's definitely different. I think to a lot of other people, but I suppose it's just the person he is.
Yeah.
Because I used to think of the concept of a person being a parent, whether a father or a mother, and now all of a sudden they have to have all these other attributes. I mean, I've got a cousin whose dad used to do so many things for them and with them, and my dad didn't do a lot of the things that father had done.
Mm.
And he said, you will learn to do this and you'll learn to stand on your own. And I get that, and I don't look down on the other experiences, that other people have had, but it's kind of like an understanding that the dad they needed, they had.
Mm.
And I suppose the dad I needed, I didn't know what I needed really.
Mm.
I just had the dad I had.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've come to learn that he is quite a character. I don't want to say proud in a flippant way, but I'm glad I have the dad I have.
I think that's always a good thing.
Yeah, and also, there were one or two, I think, difficult situations that I'd faced before, and I think had my dad not been my dad, I'd have been a lot more shaken.
Sure.
In those situations. And I think one, we were talking about being dressed there. One situation that comes to mind is I was doing freelance work
Okay.
at some place, and to this place, aesthetics mattered a whole lot. And
Was it
even though-
Butler's Pizza?
no,
They have to wear a suit. to
I don't know if
deliver
I can
pizza.
mention the name of the place,
Oh.
but it was a health and wellness spa.
Mm.
And so most of the work happens sort of back of house, but they have the reception area and it needs to look a certain way. And everybody who works there needs to be presentable. And they actually have
Dress code?
criteria
Mm.
and a dress code and all of the stuff. And I complied, more or less. There was also a period in my life where I didn't like to brush my hair. Just because of the convenience thing. So I would cut it really short so I wouldn't have to get up and check that it's laying all neatly and brushed and stuff like that. And then I would grind through the period when I would have to care for my hair until it was just big enough for me to push it all in one general direction and say, no, it's a hairstyle, and leave it like that.
Yeah, I'm trying to get there, no? Because
Well,
at the moment, my hair is growing, but it's not enough to put in a bun where I just don't have to worry about it.
But there are people
Uh,
with a hairstyle such as yours,
yeah.
and they are out in public, and it's really just about your intent. I
Yeah.
discovered this as I was growing my hair. There's a broad spectrum of what hair could look like. And as long as you mean it, it works. Look at people on the fashion runway. There are some things there that I would never sort of do or wear.
True.
But
It's about how you wear it.
not even how. Some of them.
That's confidence. It's all to do with
That's what
confidence.
I'm saying. Like
So
how you,
and it really
you
is
carry it.
intent then, you know.
Yeah. Sorry, can we just? How did your dad?
Oh, with the
with
front of
spa?
house thing.
Yes.
So they hired this manager
Uh,
who was going to help turnover and all of this stuff because the industry is really focused on turnover, as most other businesses, but this one particularly. And this guy had, I wouldn't say pedigree, but he had a history of turning businesses around and stuff like that.
Sure.
And
The Gordon Ramsay of the spa industry, one would say.
well, that was his temperament actually.
Did he call you a donkey?
No, he didn't.
But he himself was an ass.
Oh my word. Oh my word.
Sorry. That's
Please
not a rude word,
continue.
no? For all the aunties listening, that's not a rude word. It's in the Bible.
Please continue.
Yes. And anyway, let's not get into the technicalities of
Yeah.
how he was changing things.
Uh,
But toward the end of the work shift every day, you would start getting fired up and have everybody prepare as much as they can for tomorrow. And so everybody had to neaten things up and do stuff and, just kind of like leave it the way we find it so that when we find it tomorrow morning, there's minimal things to do and we
Yeah.
can actually just start working from as soon as we get in.
yeah.
Was, I think, the idea behind.
Like Barney singing clean
Yeah,
up at
but
the
the
end
thing
of
is,
the
I was a
episode.
freelance worker, and so technically those responsibilities didn't fall within my sphere of
Jurisdiction.
responsibilities.
So did you have that attitude of
I
"Say
didn't.
for me"?
I didn't have a bad attitude. I would have done anything had I known what the aim was, but I probably wasn't briefed on everything that he was supposed to be doing and how everyone else was supposed to comply. But I was standing next to a water jug and he wanted it filled.
Okay.
And so he screamed across the reception. Well, he was screaming at everybody, but he screamed across reception. about the water jug.
Yeah.
And I think everybody just from knowing the way he performed it, I think it was the first or second time I actually seen one of his theatrics. Because I was closest to the thing at the time.
So it was directed at you.
It was kind of like my responsibility to
Yeah.
to fill that gap. And I didn't notice, so I didn't budge. And then he approached me screaming.
Okay.
And
At what point did you start taking Maka?
no, I didn't do anything. I literally just stood there. And then I turned to one of the other managers and I said, "Is he speaking to me?"
Sure.
And
That's probably
everybody was a little bit stunned
Uh,
because everybody used to sort of hop. And I mean, no credit to me in any way. I was literally confused about what was going on. And someone else then took the jug and filled it. And then I went, okay, that's what you wanted. And you said it like a normal person. And then I think he proceeded to scream at me some more.
Yeah.
And eventually realized it wasn't going to work. And he turned around and busied himself with something else. And a couple of the other people asked me about that whole experience. And I sort of just shook it off. And I said, if you knew who my dad was, that really wasn't anything to pay attention to.
Yeah. My mom would say, hy skrik nie vir koue pampoen nie. And
Oh my word, would
that
you say
directly translated, she said it to me a couple of times. Directly translated, that means he wouldn't, I almost said skrik. He wouldn't be disturbed. He wouldn't be frightened by a cold pumpkin. So make of that what you will. I realize now it's really not translatable.
No.
Because why would a cold pumpkin even be scary?
It probably comes from some
Halloween.
No, man.
Oh.
No, from a hot meal. But then it's a cold pumpkin.
Yeah, maybe. That could actually be
that could be frightening.
Yeah.
You're biting into a really nice hot
Or if
meal.
you are the host and for some reason what they're expecting is something warm.
Yeah.
And it's not. You know?
True.
And so I suppose for people who are that way inclined, there may be some form of embarrassment related.
It sounds like orientation. People that are that way inclined, I identify as a maker of cold pumpkins.
Oh, wow.
or as a server of hot food.
Yeah.
You can consider me in the second category. I don't only identify as a server of hot food. I identify as a man. Now, I know this is controversial, no? But now listen here.
Not in this.
So in terms of getting dressed up.
Oh, yeah.
So when I was younger in Uppington, my cousins were... So I had all the cousins around my age in Uppington are female. Or girls, women now. But used to be girls. Yeah.
Oh,
I didn't
my
have
word.
to complicate that at all.
Just continue.
So... I mean, there's one guy, but he's like once removed, kind of strange. You know what I'm talking about?
Continue.
My mom's youngest brother's son. You know, okay. So, but he's alright. He sends me messages from time to time. But anyway, so the girl cousins, I think they were doing like a kind of dress up day, kind of photo shoot, like modeling, like a runway type of thing. And we were 6, 7 years old at the time. And so I hung out with him. Is it hung out? I hung out with him as much as I could because those were my cousins, man. Those were my friends, you know, all my friends. And I didn't want to. A suggestion was put forward that I also be dressed up. And I didn't want to upset the apple cart. And I also found it quite exciting, this novelty. Because they were putting makeup on and heels. And I was like, I want to see what it's like walking. I think these things are ridiculous heels. But like, I want to see what it's like, man. So now they dress me up, whatever. Now we're going to do our fashion show. Now, you call the adults together as you do, you know. You announce to them we're about to start our fashion show. You know, typical 6, 7-year-old activities. And my girl cousins come out and everybody's clapping. And I come out, bro. The people, I've never seen such a, I consider myself quite a likable person. And I'm not used to walking into rooms and people being disappointed at the sight of me.
Yeah.
But when I walked into that room, there was like a, no. It was, immediately there was a visceral reaction in the room, like, we do not like what we see. Go take that stuff off immediately. Obviously, at the time, I didn't understand why they were so, eager to see me not dressed up as a girl.
How
But I
did
think
you feel at the time?
I felt pretty,
Okay.
But I didn't. There was never a point where I
And
thought
with the reaction?
I was confused.
Okay.
I didn't think it was a big deal.
Yeah.
And because at the time, because for me, it wasn't a thing about gender. Like, it wasn't about, I wasn't trying to unlock my inner
No, you
girl
were just
or
playing
woman.
along.
Yeah, exactly. Like, there is no inner girl or woman for me. I was just playing the game that we were playing. And I was like, oh, this is funny. In my head, it's funny because I'm a guy, but I'm dressed up as a girl, So, yes, I didn't expect to tell you the story of the first time I was dressed up in drag. That makes it sound like there were second times. There weren't any second times. But
Would you consider that as drag or
is that not drag? I feel like that's drag.
no? I think drag is a very particular definition of or class of something of
Could
entertainment.
be.
Yeah,
Do you watch RuPaul's Drag Race?
I don't, but
Oh.
I've seen enough of or heard enough talk
Mm.
within people that partake in that.
There's
Yeah.
a good chance
is
that she
like-
saw somebody see it.
True.
Kind of,
True
but
and
anyway,
false.
but yes, I wouldn't loosely say that. I don't know. I speak under correction. I might
Well,
be very wrong. About
Doesn't
this.
the word term drag
Mm.
come from dressed as a girl?
I don't know.
I heard
As a
that
girl.
before.
Yo.
I don't know. We're
Yeah.
speaking on terms that we are not familiar with.
Well, I've spoken to a few people who've
Okay,
been to a
if you
few
know, then
who've
good.
been to a few drag shows.
Okay.
So again, I didn't watch people watch a show. I spoke to people who saw a show
Mm.
or attended.
Mm.
Was it
Not
Manila Von
participated.
Tees? You know
So-
Manila Von Tees?
No.
Oh, it's a famous
That-
Cape Town drag. Anyway.
Yeah, I know very little about those circles.
Mhm.
I was confused though because dressed as a girl would have to have two A's.
Dressed as a girl. Drag.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that could also be inaccurate.
Okay.
But it made sense, and to me that's all I needed to know.
I'm accepting it.
Yeah.
For now, until someone presents me with a piece of information that contradicts that, I'm going to accept it. I did want to ask Samantha though, because I wouldn't say you ever wanted to dress me up,
No,
but you
I didn't
did.
even want to dress up.
But you did. So, for example, when I was growing my hair out, so this isn't even like childhood. This is like 2
This is
years ago.
2020.
This is, yeah, start of lockdown. You would say things like so. For example, I used to have an Afro pick, and then I used to like comb my hair out.
It's a lot more effort than I ever made.
Yeah, it was a lot of effort. But then because I didn't want to do like, I thought I looked
think-
in the mirror and then I was satisfied with what I saw. But
I think-
apparently there's parts of your head that don't show up in the mirror.
No.
Oh yeah, my sisters
No,
reminded
they
me a
don't.
lot as well.
Yes,
Yeah.
that was me.
Yeah, maybe it's
That
just a
was me and
sister's
him.
job.
It's just I don't think he would have even started putting in effort if it wasn't for my mommy and I joined the train. Well, look, okay, so no, I never dressed you up or never contributed to however you dressed.
Mm.
I was conscious of the fact that you were my brother and you looked any which way. But I never addressed it really. But I was conscious of it. I know I was aware of it, especially because the aunties have played a very big role in our lives.
Are these our aunties or
These are
aunties
not, no,
in
this is
general?
not blood aunties. This is
Okay,
aunties, man.
aunties.
Cape Town auntie.
Yes.
Noticed your toenails at an Olympiad.
Oh, I
that
remember. It
you
wasn't
were
an Olympiad.
5.
It was the 21st.
No, man.
Never
you were
mind.
5.
Sorry, guys.
It was an Olympiad.
There was more
You
than one
were.
time.
It was an adventure Olympiad.
Okay.
And you were running. Obviously, everybody was participating, but you could have been 5 or 6. I
Okay.
don't remember.
Before my
And-
drag days, you say.
Anyway,
Drag racing.
and you I was living my own life. If you were 5 or 6, it means that I was 15, 16. And so, well, 14, 15.
Okay.
Why am I concerned about the 5-year-old, 6-year-old child's look?
Okay.
But because I was the eldest, the auntie spoke to me and kind of not scold, but
you need
like
to do better, Samantha.
yes, exactly but was like getting at me because why didn't we cut your toenails?
Sure.
Because look how long your toenails are, and you were running. You didn't care about that. I don't know if it was uncomfortable or whatever, but I mean, then I looked down and I saw your toenails and I was like, oh, that is long and is too long. Like it actually looks not nice. So because of people alerting me to your looks or things about you, it made me more aware of the way that you presented yourself. And I don't know if it was just because I was the eldest that people just felt that they needed to address the issue with me instead of getting to you or telling you about how you need to look or whatever. So I
apologize.
became, no man, it's not your thing, it's their thing. But yes, so that I was conscious of it. I didn't necessarily make any effort because, you know, as a teenager, I went through my own things. And I went through a phase where I was not particularly interested in dressing up or anything like that. And I was mistaken for a boy at times.
And you played soccer and stuff
And I
like
played
that.
soccer and I was very much the sister amongst brothers. So I behaved that way. And I was most comfortable with guy friends because my experience with girlfriends was not pleasant.
Sure.
Not for every girl group that I was part of, but a significant part of my childhood
The toxic
girlfriends,
ones.
yeah, were.
And you know
it
who
was
you
just-
are. I'm
Hey,
kidding. I'm
stop it.
joking. Sorry that I was
It was
talking
not.
about
It was just not a positive one. So all of that just played a role in in my own self perception. And so when I was going through my years of just whatever I was going through, because I wouldn't classify it as depression. I don't think I was aware of what depression was or anything, but I know that I was extremely moody. And that's where you guys got the narrative of I'm just a moody person. But it was because I was going through, 15, 16-year-old blues or whatever that age period is. And so I was dressing up like baggy. Why did I have to dress up for anybody? We were being homeschooled. I didn't want to go out. I was introverted. I didn't want to mix with people. I hated meeting strangers. We were also in a position where we were kind of not forced into situations, but just the way that our family was, we
would
had
have to
very
sing
little-
at churches with no say on where
yeah,
we could go.
we had very
or-
exactly. We had very little say in what we wanted to do or where we wanted to go. Everything for many years was we all going to this thing. We're all participating in this thing. You are coming. There was no like whether you like it or not, but that was kind of the feeling of it. But it was never said whether you like it or not, you're coming. It was just like, we're going here. And as much as I hated going to the places, I always went with because I was an obedient child. So
Compliant.
I was a compliant child. But it all added to my moodiness and just
It's like bottled
unpleasant. Just
resentment.
yes, that yeah. So all of that kind of had to play out, and that kind
That's
of
why
put
you
me
didn't
off.
cut my toenails.
Oh man, it wasn't my responsibility.
Yes.
No
So-
one said that's what we're doing as a family today. So.
Oh my word. So yeah, no, I never forced any sort of dress up or look nice throughout those years. But when I did start to find myself and I started engaging in circles that was more
Flamboyant.
positive,
Oh.
that was more positive towards self-image and just confidence and in presenting myself as a better person. I will say that it's maybe I embraced that because it was something that I had not been confident in doing for the longest time, just because I never practiced it, so that environment was strange to me. But I always found it, not always, but I found it interesting that I could look nice. That was the first thing that made me embrace.
good?
Yes, embrace feeling good about how I look. Was the realization that, oh, I can also look nice.
It's a powerful
So,
moment, eh?
It kind of is, but mine was very gradual. I don't think that it was a sudden thing of just like, oh wow, look at me. I can also. It was kind of, it had to build up very slowly to a point. Being exposed to certain personalities and characters and circles and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Slowly, the confidence built. until I fully embraced how I think I like to look. It does take a lot of effort and a lot of time, and because I haven't had time or made effort in personal appearance
But hey,
for the
Edson's here.
past year,
Look at that.
yeah, because he didn't look at my outward appearance.
Sure.
No, I'm
Easy.
lying. He was very attracted to that, as he would say. But anyway, that was not the main reason
Not
why.
the lack of effort. Let's just be clear.
Okay.
But because just life has been busy, as you say, I haven't had the time or the energy to invest in the way that I look. So I've been looking the same way for the past 3 years, basically. And I
Okay.
don't like it because I know what I like to look like and I know how I like to present myself. And so I do feel like I need a time to just be refreshed in terms of personal appearance and stuff. But I mean, being aware of that personally, I was aware of the way that you looked because I like my brothers looking nice. Just because it feels nice if you look nice.
I am sorry for the years
Oh, my word.
because here's the thing, I didn't care, man.
Yeah, I don't
For
think
the
any of
longest
us.
time.
Yes, you especially didn't care.
Yeah.
and
more than
that,
Sean. There was a time where I started to notice Sean looked in mirrors for a long time. And
I
then
think
I was like, yo, this
Sean's-
bra is
Yes,
conceited.
but you no, but the
I was
thing
wrong.
is, Sean also started early with that thing.
Yeah.
I think he more than me was concerned about the way that he looked.
Yeah.
So
But I think
he
he's
would
the
do
most
the
socially adept out of
and
the
that's
three of
why,
us.
yes. So I mean, he got into the trend of the spikes and all of those things. That's like from primary school days, and his friends like made him feel like good about that or whatever,
Sure.
or introduced him to that. Whereas my friends,
We're busy cyberbullying each other.
not cyberbullying but bullying. I mean, I was asked outright, why do you dress old fashioned? So all of
Yo,
those
my
things is just
Susie.
like that was me in primary school. So I know how I looked in even high school. I wasn't the most confident person, and I know that my look was very bland. If you look at me, I look like an unseasoned chicken.
That's better than looking like a seasoned raw chicken. Because I feel like that's what I look like in there's a picture of me in grade 9. I'm 13 years old. It's my first year at Norman and Schultz. Someone took a picture of me that looks insane. Like, if you know me well enough, you can message me and ask me for the picture if you really want to see. But how I look now compared to how I looked in grade 9 is evidence that we have a Lord and Savior. We have a God that cares for us, man. Because a man was looking, and now, so I think things changed for me when puberty happened. So grade 11, I was a late bloomer. In grade 9, I was the shortest person in my class, not shortest boy, shortest person. And things weren't going great in the looks department, and so things weren't going great in the confidence department. But I don't even necessarily think that the correlation is between those two. I think I just also was very unsure about who I was. And I'm a little bit more sure now, but still learning. But then God gave me a good-looking face, man. But I had to go.
Even if
I
you
had
have
to,
to say so yourself.
no, it's not it's
Okay.
not boastful. It is
Sure.
what it is.
Yeah.
But I grew into. I always had the size head. but,
All of us have.
but I didn't always have the size features, so
Yeah.
it kind of looked a bit disproportionate. Like if you're ever doing IT and the aspect ratio on the projector, goes out of place. That's how I kind of looked every day. And then I started liking girls. And that was like a big change as well, because then I didn't care generally how I looked. If I'm at home, I'm still not gonna, make an effort. But I cared how I looked when I was going to see girls. Not that I was going to see girls, like I'm going to a place to go
Sure.
see girls. But if there was a place where there were girls, my
We
age.
knew girls would see you.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
But not school. School doesn't count because I was at school every day. Why am I gonna try? You know what I mean? Anyway, I think at varsity I started trying, and then praise the Lord, I even got a girlfriend. And when I look at her, I think, how good is God, man?
Oh
Because-
my word. As the British would say, you're punching.
I'm playing at the Champions League level. And there was a time we were worried about relegation. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
he came through for me, but then I think part of that was you and mommy just leaving subtle hints, even if it
Yes.
wasn't constructive.
Mm.
It was actually quite destructive
No, I wouldn't say
or
that.
counter. It was just like, yo, you didn't even like. This is what
It
you
was
didn't do,
maybe
and this is
yes,
what you
The
maybe
didn't
I
do.
sister's
won't say
intent is always
destructive.
to help,
I
but
would
the
just
execution,
Mm.
because I think they do this thing in pairs.
Mm.
Because again, when I was going through this phase of I don't really want to put in a whole lot of effort
Mm.
to look presentable, so my hair was either very short or very long.
Mm.
When it was very short, they would point out where it wasn't either cut evenly or just didn't look right.
Yeah.
And then obviously through the difficult phase, you just expect a whole lot of difficult comments. And then when it was really long, there were parts of it that, like you said, you don't see in a mirror.
Yeah.
And even if you use 2 mirrors or 3 to create an angle or something, you sort of, I think one sees what one desires.
Mm.
So I thought many times, this is acceptable. And then I would get a comment like, are you going out already? Are you
I've
sure
heard
that's
that
done?
one before.
Yeah. So they do this thing. And again, in hindsight, because it didn't feel comfortable at the time. Because when you make an effort, I've also had a bad reputation of taking very long to get done to leave.
Sure.
So after making a solid effort, I thought 45 minutes was a good time.
Mm.
Yeah.
From start to finish.
Mm.
I'm beginning my effort and now I'm ready to leave.
Mm.
And I was really just copying what I saw because that would take an hour. But apparently, as a boy, you're not supposed to take as long.
Yeah.
But then after making an effort for all of that time, something like, you're not ready to go.
Yo.
Okay, I never said that. Like for you, I would just say, I wasn't like really rude about it. I would say, don't you want to like just
Yeah.
do that?
Yes.
That's
But
what
can
it
you
would
hear that
start
tone,
with.
man?
But it would
Or-
start with, don't you just want to like, oh, and then because no, I would pick up on the great lack of desire to make effort. That would annoy me.
Again, by your interpretation as a
Because-
bigger sister.
Because then it would be like, no man.
Because as a younger brother, there was also things received like, do you know what's happening? Can you see?
Yo,
Do you-
so it's the first time in your life that you ever heard
Yeah,
this kind of
it's-
advice.
It's standing up there and it's very flat here.
Yeah.
Is that what you want?
That was
Sure.
a lot of that
Um,
engagement. Yes.
Yeah. And so I do think sisters mean well.
We do.
Pretty much like the 1 meter radius thing.
Mm.
But sometimes they mean well,
But it's
and then they explain what they want, and then you receive it, and the meaning well stop being pleasant when they meant it, and after
yes, and it
everything else that
gets lost
followed-
in translation.
yeah, I don't know if it's lost or discarded.
Sure.
But it
don't-
happens.
yeah. I did want to ask because Samantha, can you tell me the story of in the build up to my birth, you had spoken to God.
I did speak to the Lord about your potential birth. I very earnestly,
Mm.
and I very vividly remember this day. We were in Uppington, as all three of us were born in Uppington, and we made a special trip down to Uppington because you were going to be born there.
I could have had
Was-
South Korean citizenship, but go
Yeah,
on.
yes, it was a year after we had returned from South Korea, and he was due to be born in August, and so we went down from July already. And so my mother just continued to stay there while we came back for school. I guess maybe a week after you were born or something like that. So we were doing our own schoolwork in Uppington somehow. But
Mommy's
for
a
the
good
time
teacher.
being, yeah. But I mean, she was concerned with other stuff also there, so we didn't really do a lot of work.
Oh,
But we
okay,
did some, you know.
Mm.
Anyway, this day I knew that our parents were going to the doctor, and by the time that they came back from the doctor, a gender would be known
Sure.
for the baby. And so I gathered my cousins who were at the house that we were staying. And I said, guys, we need to pray earnestly. And
A woman of faith.
I prayed that this baby is a girl.
Sure.
And so they came back and the report was it's a boy. And I cried.
And you realize your faith wasn't strong enough.
You know,
It just takes a mustard seed. I didn't could have been
yeah, I don't know I don't remember what my relationship with God was in terms of faith and all of that, but I knew that our God is a miracle working God, and he just it wasn't answered that day, you know.
But 7 years later, sorry.
Sure.
My word.
That's
But so
funny.
yeah, I really, really, really wanted a sister for the longest time, even after you were born. I still was hoping that
Like
there
with
would
the
be
fourth one.
another. Yes, that there would be another girl.
Did you
Oh.
want to
Oh,
produce?
not another miracle.
No, another
Okay,
girl
'cause-
born somehow.
Yeah.
Would you have? What activities did you anticipate? Because you want a girl for a reason. Like, why? What's the vibe gonna be like hypothetically with this sister? And then, do you see anybody in like? Because you're in positions of mentorship with like young. Do you ever see somebody as like? Yo,
I would
would have
consider
liked
a
you
few-
to be my younger
Yeah,
sister.
definitely.
Kind of
I do have those people. I'm not going to mention their names, but I definitely have
Yeah,
in
tell us afterwards.
mind. In mind, as we speak, I have maybe not a few, but there are names that I would have loved to have as a sister. Because I am particularly fond of their personality and their character and stuff like that. So,
But what
just
would you have done together?
what would we have done to? I have no idea because I don't know what it is like to have a sister. But I think my desire to have a sister stemmed from the fact that my cousins, who were my friends, were all girls. Both Vivi and then Kelly was also there. Although there's a 4-year gap between the two of us, so we didn't really play together. But the four of us, as in the two of them and Sean and myself, we were always together. Sean was the only boy, and because I knew what it was like to have a brother, that I think that was the big thing for me was that
the
I
novelty
already
of-
I already had a brother. It was all in my mind of just like, okay, I have a brother. Now where's the sister? I want a sister. So I think that was the biggest thing. And because my cousin was my best friend, we did everything together. Even though our personalities are very different and we were interested in very different things, we did everything together. And so even if my sister and I wouldn't necessarily have had the same interest per se, I really liked the bond that could form between sisters. And also looking at their relationship as sisters, the cousins now. They also were very different, but that sister bond was there.
So when you see their posts, like, oh, because
I
they're
do,
very
yes,
affectionate.
yes, they are very affectionate, and I do kind of feel like I don't necessarily feel like regret or anything, but I do. When I
wonder
do
what
look
that's
at
like.
yes, exactly. When I do look at that, there is a part of me that's like, yo, that would have been really nice to have that kind of like bond. I'm not a girly girl, but I know that I have that in me because when I engage like with in a position of mentorship and I engage with the younger ones, immediately that's how it comes out.
Sure.
It's like this
Let's go do our nails.
not necessarily, but that does come out where it's like all of a sudden I do become the girl,
Sure.
the girly girl, and just like an excited older sister or something like that. I'm not interested in any of those things to the point where I'm like, okay, let's have a nail date. Like, it's actually one
Barbie
of the
marathon.
things. Yeah, it's actually one of the things that would irritate me. If you're gonna take me to the spa, why? I'm not interested. I'm interested in technology and,
You prefer-
and
okay.
equipment. I'm interested in technology and equipment and technical stuff. But
I don't know how many little sisters.
yes,
are like-
exactly. And so that bond is not there. But because
2023.
girls, but just because that's the only time that I can engage in terms of that feminine part of myself with people, I do naturally tend to go that way with it. So I do have in mind girls that I would have liked to have as sisters. And I do still feel like it would have been absolutely wonderful to have a sister. But it is what it is. I have brothers.
Blessings, yo.
Yeah, it's not disappointing. It's
Try telling your voice.
It's a solid.
it's just it's
solid
it's
compliment.
it's a very different relationship. No, it's just I'm very keenly aware that we have our relationship and it is what it is. And so yeah,
It's not affectionate.
it's not an affectionate relationship
Because
in
that
the
would be a
least.
bit cheap. Gross.
But yeah, we grew up with that kind of like we don't do that. So
But the
yeah.
podcast is nice. Do you? It's an.
Yeah, my sisters put me in a dress once.
That's not what I was gonna ask.
Oh, is
but
it?
Thank you
No.
for sharing.
Yeah.
How was it?
It was cool
Uh,
until my aunties saw me, and literally my mom's sisters.
yeah.
They were not disgusted.
Uh,
They were a bit too amused.
Okay.
oh.
Yeah. And then I thought they're laughing at me.
Oh.
And the problem was, so that happened at what was the family house where my grandmother lived with all of her children in Steenberg. We
Okay.
lived in Heathfield at the time.
Mm.
So my sister was in a wedding. And there's almost a 10-year gap,
Yeah.
like I mentioned. So by the time I was old enough or the right size to fit into the dress, the wedding was already...
Years in advance. The people had divorced by then.
Well, I don't
my
know about... I don't
word.
even know who the people were.
Oh, okay.
I just know that the dress was yellow.
Yellow.
Yeah.
Oh, because age.
Well, I mean, it was, the 80s sometime.
Yeah.
They
were still developing
when
colour.
my sister was in this wedding. And so then I was born. They just, for some reason, held onto the dress. And I don't know, they've had another occasion where someone else needed a yellow dress.
Well, they were waiting for you, Edson.
And...
Oh, it was an actual yellow dress. I thought, how it was. It
Oh,
was
you mean
white.
yellowed?
Yes, that's what I.
No,
yeah, I
no.
thought that you meant like it had
Faded
become
or...
become
no.
yellow.
No,
Okay.
it was a yellow dress,
Okay.
like sunshine yellow.
Mm.
And we always saw this thing in the cupboard. And I think at some point I had asked, whose dress is that? Because it was too small for my sisters.
Mistake.
And my mother explained that it was from a wedding
Oh,
that my sister was in.
okay.
And then one afternoon, it was the weekend, they decided to see if I could fit into the dress.
Nice.
Did
And
you
it
fit?
was a good fit.
Sure.
Nice.
And they were quite impressed. And I thought that's a good sign. So I was sort of happy with it. And then they decided, come, let's go show Ma Lily and all the aunties. And what happened there was they started laughing before I actually got to do the walk. So before I done the thing worthy of recognition,
Yes.
there was a reaction.
So you were like, hang on.
Yeah, it's like, this is not a positive start.
Yeah.
And then I was unhappy.
Okay.
And then I realized they brought me to Steenberg in this dress.
Oh.
Yo.
And my clothes was at home.
Yes.
Yo.
Yeah.
And it was a home that I was very comfortable in. I'd spent a lot of time sort of growing up there, and would still afterward as well. So there possibly could have been clothes of mine or of my cousins that I could have worn had I taken the dress off.
Did you take it off?
But as a young child, that you don't go through a reasoning process.
I hear you.
Just get rid of it. But then you have no clothes on.
Yeah.
Like, and now what do I do? And so it was a bit of a crisis. So yeah, first and last time.
And it wasn't like a hot day where you could justifiably wear oni around the house. Oni is a briefs for the
Sorry for the
people.
international listeners.
Yeah.
Because I don't realize, having a girlfriend who's not from this country means that sometimes I have to try, but I don't really say I'm not as colored.
You don't use as much
Yeah.
mixed language terminology.
That's
That's
the
what you
one.
mean to say, right?
Yeah.
Oh.
Because
Okay,
when
but
I'm around other people,
Does she know what sluffies
Yeah.
means?
no.
Yeah.
Because you said-
Sluffies
sluffies
are
are
sandals, open toe sandals,
Flip flops.
flip flops.
Yeah. Slip ons. Flip flops.
Slip-ons.
I've heard people
But
say
sluffies can be slippers as well.
it can actually be slippers, yeah.
But at the moment my toes are exposed and it's like it's flip flops. But she knows like the base. She knows our way. She knows my brew. She knows liquor. She knows oulik because
I really
know?
thought you were gonna say she knows I wear shoes like
I
this.
was the exact same thing.
Oh,
And then when you
Yeah.
moved on to she knows my bro, I was like, oh, he said I wear. But I definitely was waiting for I wear something else.
I hear you.
Yeah.
I'm glad though that I also don't want to speak too much about my relationship just because she's a very private person and she doesn't like our business to be out there. But
And so you
um,
exposed
she
our
used to.
relationship
yeah,
all
Oh.
over the internet.
yeah, that's fine. It's not. To be fair, you're not going anywhere. I actually have to work to keep this goal. You know what I mean?
Yo,
Oh, you mean
think
like
that we
that?
don't have work to do on our
Oh,
relationship?
are you talking about you and Edson? I thought you were talking about like the sibling relationship because I was like, no, I'm more than willing to spill any beans that need to be
No,
spilled.
I'm talking about our.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Am I like exposing you guys? Like,
No, I don't think so. But it did
It's
sound a
all be
little bit
awkward
like
if
you
it
say
does-
there's no version of progression
Yes,
from here.
it's
Oh,
like, yo,
sorry.
You
we're
guys
just
aren't
staying
going anywhere.
stagnant.
sorry. No,
Like, we got each other and
That-
that's it.
that's
And we
it.
just like,
Sure. I don't
Settle.
believe you guys are stagnant. And
Yeah.
in
He
fact-
doesn't want to brush his hair.
Yeah,
She doesn't
nah.
want to dress up or paint her nails.
Sure.
You guys are not
So,
going anywhere.
match made in heaven or on earth.
Yeah.
yeah.
No, I'm fully hopeful that you guys will progress to a next level, and you guys know what I'm talking about. But you start taking long. But
Dude.
also, I understand life is difficult
How
and
do you
whatnot.
know we're taking long?
I think you're taking long.
Understood. Nature never rushes,
Hey,
but all the trees bloom on time.
sure,
I've been reading Confucius.
sure. Sure.
It really just pops up when I'm trying to sign in into certain websites. And so, yeah.
Yeah, when you popped up with that quote, I was Confucius.
Nice.
Not my finest work actually.
Mm.
So, no, I think you guys are on your way, to places.
Thanks.
But I do apologize if there's too much public
Ooh,
knowledge
yeah,
of. Like I remember that one episode with the tiger. I may have been pushing it in terms of what you're so comfortable with.
Well, I was asked questions. It was
Really?
just- yes.
That's good. That means people
Mommy
are listening.
asked.
Oh, never mind.
Exactly.
It's not good anymore.
Anyway,
no, I'm
it's
kidding, mommy. If
fine.
you're listening, it's fine if you listen.
Go on for 10 more minutes.
So speaking of animals, no, tigers, the Bokke.
Oh,
Go ahead,
yes.
Well done.
The,
Well
so
done,
let me
Box.
just explain what happened. No, yo, it was quite. So every 4 years is a Rugby World Cup, and every 4 years we win it.
Well,
South Africa.
Yes, we have won it twice in a row.
At
No.
the moment, we are holding champions.
We are.
So,
As controversial as the result may have been to many people,
sounds like sour grapes to me.
yes, I'm not of the opinion on who's right or whatever. All I know is we won,
Yeah,
and I'm grateful for that. And it was a fabulous night.
it was amazing. I had this lovely experience, and I need to get some of my friends from the Million Program back on. We were supposed to do episode 2 of our experiences in Chicago. It's been a year and a half.
Nice.
I hope they remember actually, but okay, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. But I was in McGregor when McGregor's like a small town just outside of Robertson and Ashton. Robertson is where our spices come from. Ashton is a good friend of ours.
Also, where the wine and the grape juice comes from.
True, eh?
Hmm.
And then we get serious. Yo, I'm starting to think these towns they add real value, you know?
Montague.
Montague, that's where we get our nuts and dates and whatnot from. So we in McGregor, and now the Springboks are playing this quarter final, and stressful times because we're busy streaming it, and the Wi-Fi.
You were in McGregor
I was in McGregor
for the final.
for the quarters,
Ah,
so the Wi-Fi cuts out. Like 60 minutes in, the Boks are busy losing.
Oh, yes.
The Boks is our
Yeah,
rugby
yeah.
team.
The Springboks.
Yeah. So we were playing the French and we were busy losing, and then the Wi-Fi cuts out, and we're like, bear in mind, we're not like 2 points away. We're like at that point
Yes.
it was something like 7 points
Yeah,
behind.
it was.
Because
hectic.
Elizabeth scored the first try to equalize, and then obviously Andre Pollard, the man who never misses, and then the Wi-Fi cuts out and we're busy losing, and we're popping now because we don't know what's going on. We're trying to fix it, like reloading, and it's just not playing. Eventually it's 10 minutes to go, until this match is finished, and then we wouldn't have known what goes on. And we need to know. Like, here's the thing: even the people in the program who aren't sports people were sports people, because there was this lovely feeling of like this patriotic nationalism that just covered your soul. It made you want to, like, invade Lesotho, that kind of
Oh
nationalism.
my word.
No,
I
I'm
have not
kidding.
experienced that.
I'm kidding. May
Dear
Lesotho
listeners, please
remain
note that
uninvaded.
comments made on this podcast is not necessarily the view of Edson and myself. Well, maybe I shouldn't speak for Edson, but myself.
No, definitely.
Okay.
No other guest
No,
other
okay.
than
Sure.
he who owns the podcast.
Yes.
As we did.
Thank
I
you
was
very much.
joking, guys. I don't feel like the people in Maseru are particularly offended by that. And they have plans of their own. So I would say best of luck to them, but no. So then Kathy, who's our leader, like, she's the person who gives us money. So, she's like our
the
boss. She's like, hey, let's get to the pub. We don't have much time left.
Mm.
And I'd like to say, for all the other SDA Christians listening, I went to the pub to watch the rugby, no? So then, because they had a big screen there.
Mm.
But don't worry, I was promoting the health message as I go
Oh my
along.
word, you don't have
Sorry.
to disclaim everything. We went to
So-
the pub. Yes.
Then we all ran to the pub because now time is of the essence.
Mm.
But luckily, McGregor is about 2 roads big,
Mm.
So the pub was around the corner. Everything in McGregor was around the corner. But we're running, late at night. The McGregor neighborhood watch is probably going crazy, like unidentified colored people running in the streets, It's a very, like, colonial town. And then we get to the pub. The people look at us like we're, like, felt like a human zoo, For a moment, there was about 2 minutes where none of the people in that pub were watching the rugby.
Mm.
And I thought, this is very uncomfortable. But also, the rugby's here, you know what I mean? We
Mm.
got
Yes.
there in time.
Mm.
And by the time we got to the pub, kyk hoe weekie, here. Look
Mm.
how the Lord works. The Springboks were ahead.
Mm.
It was incredible. And then
Mm.
we won by 1 point.
Yep.
I was hugging random people that I will never ever see in my life again.
Wow.
It was a beautiful moment of national harmony. Semi-finals comes around.
Mm.
We win by 1 point again.
Mhm.
And again, I watched it with those same group of people. And again, the Wi-Fi was making junk. Actually, it was my laptop. My laptop takes very long to load. I think it's God's way of teaching me patience.
Or maybe you should just do housekeeping. But continue.
True, yeah. Final. We win by 1 point again. I kid you not. But you know, but I kid you not still. You know what I
Yes.
mean? There was a penalty attempt that Jody Barrett missed. I've
Yes,
never screamed
yes.
so loud in my life. You know,
Yes.
I don't often pray upon people's downfall.
Oh my word.
But I was saying, Jesus, please give this man a spirit of weakness.
Oh,
Give him-
oh goodness.
Give him kicking boots that are not functioning.
Lord,
you know?
I am so sorry for these requests.
But look how he came through, man. Yo, so I don't want to attribute that to God,
Yeah.
actually, shame. But he knows the heart, and what matters to us matters to him as well. I didn't think I would be evangelizing on this section of the podcast, but then afterwards, so we win the final. Now I'm hugging my friends. It's a good time. They're like, right, let's drive, man. Yo. So now we're driving in the streets. I'm the designated driver. We're hooting at people. A captain is playing on full volume in the back. Then we saw a cop, and then we kind of lowered the volume just not to be such a public disturbance. But then the people in the streets, they all shouting Bokke. Then we drive past and we hoot Bokke, and everyone, like, I'm high-fiving people out of the window of the car as I'm driving very slowly and safely with my seatbelt on. It felt safe in the moment. I felt safe in the hands of my fellow South Africans. And everybody's hooting at each other. And first I thought the car behind me was impatient, but I realized it was Gees. Because first I thought, I must move out of the right lane, because I was driving slow in the right lane. But I think the moral of the story is, what a time to be South African. What a time to be alive. You know, there's a lady that I met for the first time that weekend in McGregor. She said she has 2 kids. That are at university of that age, 2 twin girls. She's like, I will give both my daughters to Cheslin Colby if we win this game.
Word.
That man has a chokehold over. He's like South Africa's darling at the moment.
Yeah.
But he's quiet, man.
He's very old.
He's
Like, I
quiet.
watched an interview that he did with, don't know, some magazine, South African magazine or something. You know, these video interviews that they sometimes do. And he was very, loved the way that he spoke, man. Very nice and chilled, called up a old Bokke friend.
Sure.
Very chilled, easy, nice, lekker man.
And he
Lekker
drives
man.
like a Nissan Skyline.
Okay, I'm not
Just-
that invested, but yeah.
But he's
no,
quiet, man.
he's
I like his family,
cool
you know.
guy.
I like what's going on in his life, and you know, I wish him all the best. And I don't know him, and he will never know that I exist. But I hope good things happen to that man for the rest of his life, because he brings you joy. He's the smallest person on the field now. He catches every ball. He tackles people double his size now. That's why they call him a Kraaifontein hond, my bro. He's a hond. Now to translate
That's a
that.
compliment.
Yes, that means he's a
Compliment.
dog, but no, he's a dog. Like he's got that.
Yes.
Like my friend was telling me, like dog can't be taught, man. Hond is you either a hond or you're not a hond.
Yeah.
He's got heart.
Hot, yes, hot. He's got hot, and I think as South Africans, that's all we want to see from our fellow South Africans. He has his moments where he doesn't do the right thing. Not on the rugby field. He's brilliant on the rugby field. Where there was a moment where they were celebrating the trophy lift and he got caught in a South African flag. The flag was busy versmoring him. What's the English word for that? Suffocating him. So he doesn't know his way around flags necessarily. But how South African is that? You win the World Cup for us. You can't even celebrate properly because the flag gets stuck around your head. Now that's a true South African. You know, we make mistakes, but
It's also
the point
not,
is we
not
keep
exactly
going,
something
man.
we aspire to. But that
True.
entire team showed heart
100%.
throughout the competition, and yeah, I followed it very closely. I spoke to some people, but I didn't speak to a whole lot of people about everything, and I was quietly confident at the start of every match, knowing that the Springboks had a style of play where they would answer the question that was asked.
Sure.
Up until the final, where they actually played against New Zealand, and for the first half, I thought, okay, we've got the measure of this team.
Yep.
And then things developed, and
Sure.
I sort of relinquished that. To be fair, if we're going to lose the World Cup, I wouldn't prefer losing to any other team.
Then All
100%.
Blacks. No, it was
Credit to New Zealand.
I will. Yes, I was just going to say. Look, from watching, I couldn't watch the complete semi-final because I was writing in that week, and it's dropped me at home, and when he dropped me at home, we were losing,
Sure.
and the second half had, started, but I was now not watching because I also don't have Wi-Fi connection. But anyway, I heard a blue murder scream.
Sure.
And I was like, there can only be one reason why that shrill sound is reverberating through the streets of Ottery. And so I
Because the
immediately
neighborhood
phoned
watch
him.
it. Oh,
I
sorry.
immediately phoned him and I was like, what happened? Put your video on
Sure.
and rewind. And so,
Yeah.
yes, I made him
So you
rewind.
watched the final through a phone?
Yes, those final few minutes because I was like,
The final
we
few
won.
minutes of the English game.
Yes, of the English game. But
Yeah.
yes, so having seen now the English game and all of the drama that went on with that, I was very, very impressed with the final. I thought that people can say whatever about the referee's decision and all that, what, doesn't matter. For me, it was a respectable game where both teams were playing rugby. Instead of making penalties and complaining
The
and all
opposite
this
of the
stuff.
England
Yes,
game.
there's
The
just
England game
like
was some of
absolutely
the
not.
most
The
atrocious rugby I'd
final
ever
for
seen.
me was almost very ironically or very contradictory to what one might see on a rugby field, but it was a gentleman's final.
There's definitely respect amongst the team, and what I will say is, the Northern Hemisphere teams had the arrogance of colonialists. They had this, and they have no pedigree when it comes to rugby.
my
No?
word.
There's no history of success. England is the only Northern Hemisphere team that's ever won a World Cup. Ever won a
2003,
rugby
I
World
think.
Cup, 2003. The Johnsons and the Wilkinsons.
But since then,
nothing.
yeah.
But so when we beat, sorry to interrupt, Edson, but when we beat France, I thought, my country's never lost a world war to Germany.
Oh my
You know?
word.
You can keep your your blood diamonds
I
and your
think
colonial
that.
treasures.
Yeah.
But one thing you don't have is heart, man.
Oh my.
And sorry to all the French listeners. I'm not saying you specifically don't have heart. I just,
Your rugby team.
yeah. But Dupont is a really good player. And respect to everyone.
Well, the French was a really good team.
Yes.
Just on the day,
I mean, they're not as good
we
as
had the
us.
measure of what was asked.
And
And
long may we see Faf wear that South African Oni.
yeah,
That's Speedo.
Have you seen Damien? I don't know if you guys have been watching the celebrations. We're going to wrap it up soon. But some of that Owens look like they've been drinking since the moment the final whistle ended. Yeah. Some of them look severely dehydrated.
Yeah.
they could also be quite fatigued, you know.
True.
Physical exertion takes a lot out of you.
I wouldn't know. I never played right. It was never for me. I don't like to get tackled.
Yeah. Me neither.
But thankfully, there are people who like to get tackled. Peter Stiff. What a hond. I'm convinced when we were playing captain in the car, I was convinced I have at least like 0.02% boer in my blood because I felt so at one with the Afrikaans folk. And you know, historical atrocities aside, those were my brothers, you know.
Wow. We do our great somewhere along the line father
Yes,
was a
boer.
boer.
Yeah, okay, sure.
And the great whatever mother
Yeah,
was the maid or something like that.
yeah, that's how it works, no?
You know? It's, yeah.
So Peter Stiff could be my family.
Well,
But yeah, so even though you don't have brothers, in many ways you have 15 brothers, 23, the final score, 32 brothers
Yeah, that's it.
that represented you in France and did you proud. And I hope next time when you rub the muscles of the rugby players that you just tell them, they make us proud, man. Oh, but you massage the Samoans.
At the earliest
They make me proud
opportunity.
too. All the people from the island, from the Pacific Island, you guys make me proud as well.
I'm actually okay. Yes,
Pacific Islanders, I love the way you sing. Music is very good. Very,
the
very
Fiji
good.
team must drop an album.
Yes.
I will listen.
In any case, we do need to leave.
True, yeah, we've got stuff to do. But thank you so much for Itzen. I feel like you had a final thought that I took away from you.
Oh no, I was really just gonna start talking about rugby players some more. I have huge respect for anybody who plays rugby. And that was it. So it's not so much about, you know, where they come from or what style of rugby. Anybody who steps into the pitch with anybody who's prepared to play a game of rugby, respect. And then also the work that they put in off the field to be effective on the field is extremely respectable.
Mm-hmm. And like they say, salads don't win scrums. Owens is eating a solid amount, and we appreciate it.
Peanut butter and banana smoothies.
Yeah,
I've seen a lot of that action in the team room.
Yeah, well, I just think, just in conclusion, if there's any Springbok that ever comes to my house, I will be more than willing to buy some chops for you. You know what I mean? I feel like wherever they go in South Africa from now onwards, they will be celebrated. I hope.
I'm sure they will be.
Well, we saw... never mind.
No, say?
Our parents sent very enthusiastic videos today in support of the Bokke.
Really?
So, yeah. Anyway.
Okay. You can cut that out if you want to. I don't care. But thank you everybody for listening. This has been really fun. Thank you, Edson and Samantha, for availing yourselves. Thank you to Jesus for giving us this opportunity. And thank you at home for listening, for being involved, for being South African. And for those of you that aren't, it's never too late.
Oh my word.
Find yourself some South African that you can marry.
Oh my goodness.
Have a lovely evening, everybody. A lovely morning, lovely afternoon, depending on when you're listening to this. And may the force be with you.
Bye, everyone.
Until next time.